Why, hello, it is I, Chris Brogan, for this brief for Thursday, October 26, 2017. If this is your first time showing up, hello. This is my show where I share with you ideas and stories that I found somewhere on the web that I find might be of impact to you and your business or your life in some way. The whole concept behind the show is how do we use technology to drive better human interaction in whatever form that might take. I make this show using Ecamm Live. It's the best way to do Facebook Live on a Mac. You can check out the stories that I'm going to share with you yourself at chrisbrogan.com/CBM. chrisbrogan.com/CBM will take you right to today's stories. And I am going to start out with a story about chatbots. Evidently, not only are chatbots possibly cool, interesting, and neato, but there's a report out saying that they might save companies as much as $8 billion annually. Seems that there is a scenario where there are over 40,000 chatbots currently in the marketplace on various platforms, and that the customer service costs alone might be as much as $8 billion annually. Pair that with another story that I read that people are reporting mostly positive reactions to chatbots. You're kind of onto something interesting, aren't you? The whole idea, too, is that, if your business relies on customer service, or if you are yourself are in some part of the customer service industry and you haven't yet implemented anything in the land of chatbots, maybe it's time to get looking at that a little bit more seriously. What are the top 3 jobs in the coming years? Well, according to this report in The Atlantic, they're not necessarily what you're going to be looking for immediately. Top 3 jobs in the next coming years, according to a 10-year forecast, says that care, computers, and clean energy are the places where we're going to see the most growth. So things like home health aides, personal care aides, software developers, and again, like I said, clean energy, according to this survey found in The Atlantic. So if that's not your job, and if you're looking for something new, that might be the place to look. New blockchain news out. It looks like the Center for Disease Controls is going to look working with IBM on taking care of medical data management. There's a good story in this because I just reported a few days ago that at least in the U.S., medical records aren't more widely shareable right now. Only 30% of medical records are put in a format that are shared widely with all kinds of people. So the CDC wants to correct this on their own as well for their data, and also to help pass that information along a little bit more. The world's most successful LGBT executives and business leaders. What a cool post from CEO World Magazine. I thought it was a neat opportunity to share an interesting spotlight on people who have identified as lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, or gay. This is the 5th year that this executives magazine listing has shown. They're from all different companies: Qantas Airlines, JP Morgan Chase, Dow DuPont. I don't know what makes the rankings. I didn't read all that way through the story, but I thought it was kind of cool that they shared, and good for you, CEO World Magazine, for publishing that and making that available. Kind of fun just for what it is. Has President Donald Trump actually done something reasonably right for once? It looks like he has signed some information together that they're going to put together a lot more drone transportation. There's a test going out right now. This whole scenario of being able to do lots more delivery and other logistics by way of the drone space is what's on the table. This is an interesting story in that this is, again, government legislation that says let's make this a little bit easier to handle unmanned aircraft. Right now, it's in a really kind of touchy place. As Mitch Jackson would know, being a drone pilot himself, it's in a touchy space because all of these platforms are not necessarily very easy to apply in lots of places now because of the current situation of rules with the FCC. That isn't to say that everything's going to go willy-nilly. It isn't to say that we're going to have all kinds of craziness in the sky, but it is definitely interesting to note that this initiative is going to make it change some of the restrictions and see, at least on a testing basis, what that means for us. Now, we've talked about chatbots once already today, but where else might you consider automating some parts of your business? According to this in CEO World Magazine, here are 7 areas where you might want to automate your business. If you see your job title listed anywhere in here, like accounting and financial processes, or digital marketing, client or customer communications, etc., you might start wondering, 1, how much haven't I automated that still needs automating? And what is possibly going to mean for my job and or for maybe possibly reductions of jobs in those areas. Anytime someone says, hey, this is a great place that you can automate your business, it's also a place you might consider wondering whether or not there's an abundance of humans. Speaking of an abundance of humans, how do we feel about robots? How do we feel about robots? This is a new study out that talks a little bit about this. And this is if robots are able in any way to kind of send an anthropomorphic signal, meaning something very humanistic looking, then there's a chance that we may or may not have a relationship. But it turns out that those aren't the only robots that we pay attention to. According to MIT Technology Review in their November-December issue, there is a lot at stake here in explaining human relations to robots. Now, certain robots like Octavia here can express emotions, can recognize teammates versus strangers, can recognize bad orders, and can make facial expressions accordingly. But even if a robot doesn't necessarily have a discernible anthropomorphic face, evidently we are displaying personalized feelings on these robots. One example of this is military bots, like bomb bots and things like that have been deployed in the military. There have been thousands of them over the last bunch of years, especially as the rise in IEDs, improvised explosive devices, has risen. People have really brought a lot more robots into battle, and people are forming emotional contact with these kinds of robots. So there's some interesting information there, just insofar as what kind of feelings we might have with robots going forward. Now, far be it from me, a plant-based eater, to give praise to a fast food joint, and least of all Burger King, which I don't remember the last time I've had a Burger King product. But this, shared by my also vegan friend Raul Colon, is a report, a video on bullying that Burger King put out. And in this, Burger King decided that they were going to put together a video where the conversations about bullying is how it starts. Then it goes into a whole bit of information about setting up a thing with real actors and with actors and real customers in their Burger King demonstrating bullying. And then what they said is that they then checked to see what people would do or how people would react to the bullying. And in all cases, it was something like 12% of people reported or intervened in the bullying of a human, but 95% of people responded to when the Burger King employee bullied their Whopper Jr. or their Burger King sandwich in some way. So it was an obvious, interesting call out to say that one of the biggest ways that we can handle bullying and treat bullying is to actually say something when we see it, and that most people don't. But for reasons not quite explained in this video, by the way, it just turns out that maybe we need to get a little bit better at that. All right. How are more and more plant-based innovations coming to light so fast all of a sudden? Well, partly because Gen Z is looking for more sustainable plant-based foods. I told you a little bit about the fact that there's going to be plant-based versions of, like I have veggie burgers, so there's going to be plant-based shrimp. Well, it turns out it's these guys in their cafeterias and all that are testing these plant-based shrimps and all that. So according to Civil Eats, there's a lot more request for sustainable foods and also vegan type products and that sort of a thing showing up in food cafeterias in the nation's colleges and all that. But this can't really be big business yet, is it? Well, I keep telling you it is. Now there's a report out that says European dairy sales are down because of vegan milk. Kind of interesting that plant-based, nut-based, mostly milks, are putting a dent in the situation of milk sales in Europe. And I don't know anywhere else. I just happened to see that report was set for there. All right, last story of the show. I almost always share something that's kind of fun, nerdy, geeky, quite often cosplay. I found this an interesting article in Elle magazine. This woman is a hijab cosplayer because, sometimes certain things in the Muslim faith make it a little more complex to go along with the typical other culture information that people are interested in. So this girl came up with some really fun hijab-friendly costumes. So that's her Instagram name. You can follow her directly if you want. It's MIISA_MHC. You can see some of her cool cosplay ideas here. She has all various ones for various holiday seasons and all that. She does a really cool vampirist sort of look here. And then last, I liked this one. It was, I don't know what she's trying to look like, but it looked cute to me. So I thought it was cool because it mixes, the ability to do a cosplay even when you're of a different faith that maybe makes it a little harder to wear certain costumes. And we've all had those circumstances around the Halloween time, especially people who grew up in Maine, like I did, where you had to wear a snowsuit under your costume. So you couldn't be Captain America. Oh, you can't really see it. Couldn't be Captain America because it was so cold out. You were basically another kid in a snowsuit with an awesome costume underneath. Or a really fat kid costume because your snowsuit was underneath and you put your costume over it and so you looked like Fat Batman. now I get to look like that every day for free anyway, so it's okay. Like I said, all of these stories are something you can look at yourself. You can go to chrisbrogan.com/CBM and read along yourself. You can click any single link that I've shared with you in this post. Everything here is available to check on and find out the brief. Everything here is good for you in some way, tied to how do we use technology to drive better human interaction. If you want to send a story to me directly, chris@chrisbrogan.com, or however else you know how to reach me. If you want to make a show like this yourself, use Ecamm Live. It's the best way to do Facebook Live for Mac. It is so cool. I'm going to be out of here. Thanks so much for talking to me. I'm Chris Brogan.